And welcome back to the show. I'm Joe Concha along with Rick Hunger, Heather Hansen, and Brad Hirschfield. Well, we've been talking a lot about Baltimore already. And Rick, I want to turn to you because I know you've been going deeply into this subject. We've discussed the who, the what, the when, the where, and the how. What I want to know more about is the why.
The why.
Why did this happen, and why did this happen now?
Well, as Brad says, there's no one reason. I think, my reaction today has been more, why are we putting so much attention trying to blame the mayor or the governor or this or that? This goes so much deeper. The poverty issue that I brought up, it's a whole different conversation. It is. But there's one thing that's happened in Baltimore that we know that's fact-based and problematic, and that is the incidence of police violence. There has been a shocking amount of brutality involved with the Baltimore police force. I think we have a chart to show you what it's cost if we can bring that up. Here you see that between 2011 and 2014, $5.7 million in jury awards and settlements went to victims of police brutality. And if you're thinking that these were some smart, you-know-what felons who decided to give the cops a hard time, you would be wrong. I mean, there are incidences of a 87-year-old woman who was beat up literally by the cops. There's a situation where a pregnant woman of 27 years old, same thing. It goes on and on and on. This is the big problem. And then you saw that there was an additional, I think, $5 million spent in legal fees. Think about what this is costing the people of Baltimore, aside from what is infuriating this community. All of this is happening, not all, but the overwhelming majority is happening in the black community. You can't have that happen and then have a Freddie Gray situation take place and expect people not to react. That doesn't mean that I or any of us would in any way condone the violence that we're seeing. Not only is it obviously dangerous, where police officers and protesters may very well get hurt or worse, it's stupid. It's just plain stupid to burn out a CVS where senior citizens in the community may rely upon that store to give them their medicine. Well, who did that help? To burn down businesses that employ people in the community, who did that help? It's stupid. But I got to tell you something. If we really are going to solve this problem, and the same problem that we've seen in cities all around the nation, we have to begin by asking the overwhelming majority of good cops, and they are the majority. There's a lot of good cops out there. They have to start policing their own department. They have to call out the people who behave this way and bring this kind of trouble on us. They're the ones who have to do it because they're the ones that see it.
So I have a regret from last night. We had Bernie Carrick on here, who was New York City Police Commissioner, head of Homeland Security, I think,
yeah,
for a short amount of time. Nominated, sorry.
Didn't make it.
Point being, all right, the New York City Police Commissioner part, what I wanted to ask him, and this hits you when you're driving home, what do you think, as a former commissioner, of body cameras for police officers?
I never did ask him that.
And that, what you just described, in all those incidents, body cameras
would have made a big difference.
A huge difference.
You know
and
what?
the money you brought up as well, as far as all those
Well, the body cameras
legal
are
fees.
really expensive. Not that expensive, but very expensive. The other problem in
Not
Maryland...
compared to the legal fees that a city
The
must
other problem
endure.
in Maryland is it's a two-party consent state, and that's part of the problem with getting the body cameras. Because
Explain that to the viewers
the
at home.
person who does the taping has to consent to the taping, as does the person who's being taped.
Right.
So if police are wearing cameras, they're not going around and having people sign off, do you consent to being
Sign a
videotaped
release.
before I
Right.
beat you up? So it is part of
But the other problem, you're right, but I would just throw this in. The other problem is the nature of the politics there. Just
That's right.
recently,
That's right.
there was an effort to reform the police department for this reason,
And the mayor-
police,
the mayor
the mayor
vetoed
was
it.
hit by the lobbyists, the police lobbyists, and she did veto it.
That's right.
Very few states, though, have two-party consent. Is it 3, 4? I talked about this once.
It's a
very
minority.
small amount.
That's correct.
And it
That's,
can
and
be
Maryland
overturned.
happens to be one of them.
Okay.
And LA just voted today to have the cameras. It is coming. It is the future. Even people who didn't agree with it are now agreeing with it. It is coming, and it is going to be wonderful. There should be video cameras in these vans so that if they're going on these rough rides, as they're saying happened here, you know what's going on inside the van.
Brad, it should be noted that this whole conversation is being recorded.
Yes, it is.
One hopes
So watch
for
yourself.
rebroadcast, so
course
lots
it
of people
is.
can benefit from our wisdom.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the $11.5 million in payouts. Because one could argue, look, there's no question, they have a police violence against citizens problem. No question. But with $11.5 million paid out, one could also easily argue the system is working for the citizens of Baltimore. The legal system is actually paying them when they've been mistreated, taking care of their legal costs. The police, in some instances, may be failing them, but the legal system is actually working for them.
Defense in some way,
No,
shape, or form?
it's a challenge. If you only know the story that riles you up and enrages you, police violence, and don't know the story, and don't know the story of the system serving you when it does and punishing its own when it does so, then at some level you have to take responsibility for the story you tell.
Wait, if I come across the table and smack you hard in the face and I break your nose,
Right.
and you sue me and I
Right.
pay for your nose being broken, it's all okay?
No,
Of course it's not.
But my rage can't be directed at the system. It can be directed at you.
I'm sorry,
and
I'm not
that's
buying
part of
that.
the challenge.
You have
They've
a whole
decided to tell a
community.
story
You have a whole
that enrages
community
them.
terrified of the police doing bad things to them. That is not made up for by the fact that if they in fact do bad things to you, the city will compensate you.
It's not a question of made up. It's when we talk about faith in the system has lots of moving parts. Leadership could stand up and say, the cops have failed us, the law has served us well.
What is
And
that?
how do we
So
then
what?
want to respond?
Why
And
is
it
that?
matters because, Rick, when you talk about why do people burn down their own CVS, why do people burn down their own businesses? Because it's a rage there that's beyond rational. And you got to look to yourself when you have that kind of rage.
Yeah, I just don't see the payment thing in any way.
Nope.
I don't know. I don't get it that at all, I have to be honest.
Well,
I just don't see what that means.
Just to get back to the body camera portion for a moment, police are all for it because they could say, okay, you can't blame me for something
Right.
I didn't
Right.
do.
Good
And
point.
obviously the citizens at home probably are as well. So you're right, it's coming. Coming up next, we're going to go rate the media's coverage of the riots in Baltimore. This is the Daily Wrap, only on Newsmax.